Ekscelences, dāmas un kungi! Labvakar un esiet sveicināti mazajā ģildē Rīgas sirdī, pasākumā, kas veltīts notikumam, kad Latvija pievienojas Eirozonai, vai kā mums patīk sacīt, Eirozona pievienojas Latvijai. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the small guild at the heart of Riga to an event dedicated to the occasion of Latvia joining the Eurozone. My name is Ines Strasdiņa. I am Brussels-based correspondent of Radio Latvia, working with Latvian television and Latvian daily Latvijas avīze, and I've been covering EU affairs past 8 years, and I will be with you tonight all this evening. You have just heard a popular Latvian and internationally renowned pianist, the winner of a number of prestigious world piano competitions, Vestards Šimkus, and his EU variations on a theme of Beethoven, giving this evening particularly pleasant ambience. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 10th day since the euro is the official currency of Latvia. The past year has been an exceptionally significant phase in Latvia's history, when many questions have been raised. What will the euro mean for Latvia? What will Latvia mean for the Eurozone? What are we to lose from joining the euro? What are we to win? And is the euro just a currency or more? Symbolically important when considering national identity. Tonight we will discuss all these topics and more. Our conversation tonight will be in 2 languages, as our guests include both Latvians and those of other nationalities, and all our guests are welcome to follow along using the translation provided on headphones. With no further delay, it's my great honor to present to you our distinguished guests for tonight's discussion. The Prime Minister of Latvia, Mr. Valdis Dombrovskis. The President of European Council, Mr. Herman Van Rompuy. And the President of European Commission, Mr. José Manuel Barroso. We will give the first word to the Prime Minister of Latvia, Mr. Valdis Dombrovskis. Minister President kungs, vārds jums.
Augstgodātais Eiropadomes priekšsēdētāja kungs, augstgodātais Eiropas komisijas prezidenta kungs, ekscelences, godātie Eiropas komisāri, ministri, dāmas un kungi. Man ir liels prieks šodien būt kopā ar jums šajā pasākumā, kas ir veltīts Latvijas iestājai Eirozonā. Šodien mēs atzīmējam Latvijas iekļaušanos Eiropas kodola valstu saimē. Valsts saimē, kas veido pasaules 2. lielāko ekonomiku un kas lieto vienu no 2 pasaules galvenajām valūtām – eiro. Mēs kļūstam par pilnvērtīgu partneri valstu blokā, kas nosaka pasaules dienas kārtību. Taču eiro ir radīts pirmām kārtām tās dalību valstīm. Tas veicina stabilitāti, labklājību un drošību. Mums kā mazai un atvērtai ekonomikai vajadzēs mazāk uztraukties par finanšu tirgu suntumiem un īpatnībām, kas satricinājuma brīžos mazās valsts ar mazām valūtām atstājas borta. To mēs skaidri atceramies no bēdīgās 2008. gada pieredzes. Eiro veicina savstarpējo tirdzniecību un investīciju plūsmu, tādējādi vairot labklājību visā Eirozonā. Eirozona ir arī klubs, kura biedri nepaliek malā, kad kāds ir nonācis grūtībās. Tie palīdz risināt valstu individuālās problēmas, labi saprotot, ka ciešo saišu dēļ vienas valsts nelaime visai ātri var kļūt par visas Eirozonas nelaimi. Taču Latvijai iestāšanās Eirozonai nozīmē ko vairāk. Kopš neatkarības atjaunošanas 90. gada sākumā mēs noteicām stratēģisko mērķi atkal iekļauties rietumu demokrātiskajā pasaulē. Pirms gandrīz 10 gadiem mēs pievienojamies Eiropas Savienībai un NATO. Pievienošanās Eirozonai ir nākošais loģiskais solis šajā virzienā. Tas ir panākums, ar ko mēs varam pamatot lepoties. Pirms 5 gadiem Latvija piedzīvoja vissmagāko ekonomisko krīzi Eiropas Savienībā. Tādējādi priekšnosacījumi izaugsmes atjaunošanai mums bija vissmagākie. Tomēr mēs bijām viena no pirmajiem, kas spēja sabalansēt ekonomiku un ielikt pamatus ilgspējīgai attīstībai. 5 gados kopš krīzes smagākā posma no valsts ar lielāko budžeta deficītu un bez pieejas finanšu tirgiem esam kļuvuši par Eirozonas paraugu. Viena no nedaudzām valstīm, kas pilnībā izpilda Maastrichtas kritērijus, vienlaikus jau 3 gadus esot starp visstraujāk augošajām Eiropas Savienības ekonomikām. Šie sasniegumi ir apliecinājums mūsu varēšanai. Ja mēs spējam dažu gadu laikā no valsts ar visdziļāko krīzi Eiropas Savienībā kļūt par valsti, kur abrīno visā Eiropas Savienībā, tad mēs spējam jebko. Sasniegt izcilību izglītības jomā, likt inovācijām kalpot par ekonomikas motoru un izveidot profesionālāko valsts pārvaldi Eiropas Savienībā. Mūsu ceļš uz Eirozonu nav bijis ātrs un viegls. Kopš mūsu iestāšanās Eiropas Savienībā ir pagājuši gandrīz 10 gadi. Pa to starp ir bijuši gan trekno gada eiforija, gan krīzes izmisums. Ir bijušas diskusijas par lata devalvāciju, ir bijusi Eirozonas krīze. Tomēr šajā ceļā Latvija ir pierādījusi, ka spēj konsekvenci īstenot pašas nospraustos mērķus un turēt partneriem dotos solījumus. Daudz diskusijas ir bijis arī par lata kā nacionālās valūtas lomu mūsu valstiskajā identitātē. Pievienošanās Eirozonai nozīmē atteikšanos no lata, kas mums asociējas ar neatkarības atgūšanu, stabilitāti un ceļu uz sabiedrības labklājību. Vēl vairāk, uz Latvijas Republikas 5 latu sudraba monētām iekaltā tautumeita Milda ilgus gadus latviešiem bija neatkarības simbols, un šīs monētas bija praktiski katrā latviešu ģimenē. Tādējādi līdzteku naudas uzkrāšanas, apgrozības un maksāšanas līdzekļu funkcijām lati pildīja arī zināmu identitātes funkciju. Tāpēc apzinos, ka daļai Latvijas iedzīvotāju pievienošanās eiro nelikās pašsaprotama. Šeit vēlreiz jāuzsver, ka Latvija savu identitāti nodefinēja uzreiz pēc neatkarības atjaunošanas, nosakot kursu uz iestāšanos Eiropas Savienībā un savu nākotni redzot Eiropas valstu saimē. Tagad Latvijas neatkarības simboli, Latvijas ģērbonis un arī milda ir redzama uz jaunajām eirocentu un eiro monētām. Monētām, kuras lieto vairāk nekā 330 miljonu Eirozonas valstu iedzīvotāju. Monētām, ar kurām varam norēķināties teritorijā no Selmijas ziemeļiem līdz Francijas aizjūras teritorijām Karību jūras salās. Runājot par eiro, galvenie tomēr ir ekonomiskie argumenti. Pievienošanās Eirozonai veicinās finanšu un ekonomisko stabilitāti Latvijā. Pievienoties Eirozonai, mēs esam pievienojušies ekonomiskai sistēmai, kurš iekšējais koprodukts ir 9,5 triljoni eiro ar pozitīvu vairāk kā 81 miljārdu eiro lielu ārējās tirdzniecības bilanci. Nenoliedzam, ka iestāšanās Eiropas Savienībai savulaik Latvijai sniedza gan statusu, gan papildus stabilitāti un drošību. Tomēr nebija jābūt gaišreģim, lai saprastu, ka iestāšanās Eiropas Savienībā mums automātiski negarantēs labklājību. Eiropas idejas pamatā ir apziņa, ka tikai ciešāka sadarbība un integrācijas spēj sniegt maksimālu labumu no Eiropas pamatvērtībām un nospraustajiem mērķiem. Un eiro kā kopēja valūta ir viens no šīs integrācijas svarīgākajiem faktoriem. Tomēr, līdzīgi kā lats, arī eiro pats par sevi nenodrošinās mūsu valsts labklājību. Man dziļa pārliecība ir, ka ceļš uz visas Eiropas un katras tās dalību valsts labklājību vedas ar atbildīgu fiskālo politiku un valstu konkurētspēju. Jāuzsver, ka tāpat kā Eiropas Savienība, arī Eirozona ir valstu saime, kurā aizvien stingrāk un precīzāk tiek definēti sadarbības noteikumi. Tomēr gala rezultātā katrai valstī pašai ir jānes atbildība par šo noteikumu ievērošanu un to, cik lielā mērā tā spēj izmantot priekšrocības, ko sniedz dalība šajā saimē. Mēs redzam, ka Eirozonā ir gan valstis, kas ir starp pasaules konkurētspējīgākām ekonomikām, gan valstis, kas cīnās ar nopietnām problēmām, tādām kā pārmērīgs valsts parāds un augsts bezdarbs. Šādas atšķirības skaidri parāda to, ka eiro var būt svira attīstībai tikai gadījumā, ja spējam to prasmīgi izmantot, un tikai gadījumā, ja atbildīgi izturamies pret valsts finansiālo stabilitāti. Tieši mūsu spēja īstenot atbildīgu makroekonomisko politiku noteiks to, kā mēs izmantosim eiro sniegtās iespējas. Nobeigumā es gribētu pateikties visiem, kas ticēja, palīdzēja un atbalstīja Latvijas virzību uz eiro. Paldies visiem, kas ar savu aktīvo darbu šo mērķi ļauj pārvērst realitātē. Šeit gribētu minēt gan mūsu partnerus Eiropā, gan Latvijas amatpersonas, kas veic eiro ieviešanas praktisko darbu, gan nevalstisko sektoru, gan uzņēmējus, kas bija aktīvākie eiro ieviešanas atbalstītāji, gan daudzus citus. Paldies visai Latvijas tautai, kas grūtajā krīzes pārvarēšanas posmā spēja saliedēties, mobilizēties un atjaunot izaugsmi. Varam droši teikt, ka pievienoties eiro, Latvija ir augusi, kļūsi stiprāka, drošāka un stabilāka. Pēdējos 5 gados esam paveikuši daudz, tomēr dusēt uz lauriem mēs nedrīkstam. Arī turpmākajos gados būs jāstrādā tikpat intensīvi un mērķtiecīgi, lai sasniegtu nākamo mērķi – Latviju kā labklājības valsti. Paldies visiem un panākums Latvijai nu jau Eirozonas valsts statusā. Paldies!
Thank you, Prime Minister. Our next speaker is the President of the European Council, Mr. Herman Van Rompuy. Please, Mr. Van Rompuy.
Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. President of the European Commission, Ministers, Commissioners, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. What a positive way to start the year than to celebrate together Latvia's accession, Latvia's adoption of the euro. A new addition to the family is always a moment to rejoice. So on behalf of the entire Eurozone and to all the people of Latvia, a very, very warm welcome. We have just heard some beautiful music, and this is a stunning choice of venue, a small sample of all that Riga has to offer as Europe's capital of culture for 2014. But there is more to this building. As former home to this city's guilds, it's a symbol of craftsmen, citizens and merchants choosing to come together to further their trade, bringing together their strengths to open up new prospects for all. A symbol for a very simple idea that together we are stronger. It is true for people and it is true for nations. Something that your country, historically part of the Hanseatic League, has always known well. It is this very idea that brings us together today. And in the words of Latvia's famous writer, Zenta Marina, and I'm quoting now, each nation has its unique beauty. And nations, like people, need vibrant interactions to prosper. Those that close up on themselves lock their prosperity. So, ladies and gentlemen, by choosing the euro, Latvia is entering a wider space of shared opportunity. It is a choice that makes sense. The euro will be an asset for your country, just like in neighboring Estonia before you, and likely in Lithuania soon after you. It will help attract investment and help companies grow. I'm aware that here, as elsewhere, not everyone is as enthusiastic as most of us are. New things can generate fears, and that's normal. But I can assure you that hardly anyone in the Eurozone wants to go back to the national currencies, least of all in Estonia. And to the outside world and to our own citizens and businesses, your choice is yet another mark of confidence in the benefits of the euro. But it is more than that, a mark of common values, common responsibilities, a common future. It means a common destiny, closer ties and a firm anchoring of Latvia at the heart of our political Europe. 23 years after joining the OSCE, 10 years after joining the European Union, 8 years after becoming NATO member, it's another milestone. Now, more than ever, we are together, ladies and gentlemen, for good. History cannot separate you ever again from the rest of Europe. I would like to salute a transition to the euro that has been admirably prepared. I know this project has been personally very important to Prime Minister Valdis Dombrovskis. And I would like to take the opportunity to salute his role. Frankly, when together with his government, the Prime Minister set out on this journey, many doubted it could happen so soon. Perhaps even some advisors in your country's administration, and maybe even Valdis yourself. We have to remember the context, of course. It was in the heat of the banking crisis, and your country's economy was undergoing huge financial stress and an unprecedented economic downturn. But despite the odds, and with huge determination, your country persevered. The people of this nation, through courage and reform, have lifted Latvia out of a severe crisis and firmly back onto its feet. The Union were always by your side and showed solidarity. And meanwhile, much has happened in the euro area to bring it on a sounder footing. The euro never was the problem. Wrong policies in some member states were the problem, and they are being corrected. Today, you are joining a different eurozone, a much stronger, better organized, and better governed eurozone. In Latvia, economic growth is going strong, trade is on the rise, and employment is growing. Your efforts are paying off, which is only right, and you can look to the future with confidence and resolve. Nations need hope, and you have it back. From this month of January, all across Europe, people will be meeting Milda, your national symbol, on the back of their coins. I have already had the opportunity to admire the design at our last European Council meeting in December. Your Prime Minister gave each of us €1 Latvian coin. Ladies and gentlemen, no more than €1. And it got a lot of praise, also from non-Euro Prime Ministers. I know that to many Latvians, Milda is a symbol of independence, of nationhood, a symbol of freedom. But it means also a lot to people in other countries to start finding Milda's proud profile on some of the coins that they carry in their pockets, along with France's Marianne and the island's harp or a Greek owl of wisdom. This means a lot because it is a discreet but tangible reminder that we Europeans are one big family. A reminder also of the wonderful diversity of our union and of the culture and historical ties that we share. And this is also what the euro's design symbolizes, our national and European identities. So to say, as two sides of the same coin, a common strength, a common shield that we find in unity, a homeland of freedom and prosperity for all of our nations. Ladies and gentlemen, a dream that the brave people of Ukraine on Euromaidan and elsewhere aspire to come closer to. And we cannot forget them these hours and these days. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I wish Latvia and all the people of Latvia once again a very warm welcome in the Euro family. Paldies. Thank you.
Mr. Van Rompuy, thank you very much. Welcome, President of European Commission, Mr. José Manuel Barroso. Please, floor is yours.
Mr. Prime Minister, President of the European Council, Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Today is a day of celebration, a day that many people would not have been able to predict, because not so many years ago, we lived in a divided Europe. And today, we are celebrating not only Latvia joining the euro, but Latvia being at the center of the European Union, being at the core of the European integration. And even as recently as 2009, with European countries struggling with economic, financial, and debt crisis, with Latvia's economy under a heavy adjustment program, with speculations about the dissolution of the euro area, or, as we have heard, some speculations about the possible implosion of the European Union, no one, or at least many outside of Europe, were not thinking that Latvian accession to the euro was going to happen so soon. But it happened. And today we are celebrating here not only Latvia's determination, but also the strength of our common currency and the strength of the European Union as a project. So I congratulate all of you in Latvia, the government, the parliament, social partners, citizens, for the real achievement in joining, and it now seems very smoothly, the euro on the 1st of January. This is a result of your strong determination to move out of an adjustment program through often painful but necessary reforms and to reach your clearly set goal. You have shown the way to others who need to continue reforming their economies and those who also want to join the euro. And while I want to, if possible, to congratulate all and each one of you, from the authorities to the citizens, to the companies, to the experts, to the administration that have made this possible, I think it is fair to have a special word of congratulations to you, Prime Minister Valdis Dombrovskis, because in a time of great uncertainty, you defined the goal, you kept your determination, and indeed you made us believe that this was possible. And the European Commission and all of us in the European Union, we were proud to be at your side to support you reaching this objective. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no illusions about how hard the crisis has hit Latvia, and we know that problems and challenges remain. However, I believe that with the transformative efforts you have made, you have now great conditions to give prosperity and hope to your citizens, especially to the young people. The reality is that now you have one of the highest rates of growth in the European Union. And at the same time, you have robust public finances. You have shown that it is possible to transform the economy. You have shown that adjustment programs, if properly implemented, they indeed work. 10 years ago in May, Latvia joined the European Union. 10 years later, Latvia is part of the euro area. The 1st January 2014 will be engraved in your memories and embedded in the minds of your children and grandchildren as they learn about the history of your country. Indeed, the accession to the euro is more than an economic relevant fact. Certainly, and people may ask, what is the advantage of having the euro? Certainly, the accession to the euro represents, for instance, simplified life for businesses, for travelers that don't have to make so much exchange operations. Certainly, the euro makes Latvia more attractive for investment, namely from the most important European companies that, like that, they reduce to zero the exchange rate. That's a very important asset for a country like yours that is, of course, trying to attract even more important foreign investment. It will also, and that's important, simplify and facilitate trade and investment both ways. That's why the business community is supporting. It will be especially helpful for SMEs, small, medium-sized companies, that of course see, in that sense, the costs reduced in some operations. But I was saying the euro is not just good from an economic and practical point of view. It is also about a common project. The euro is also a political project for European unity. And the euro offers Latvia economic but also geopolitical opportunities, because joining the euro means that Latvia is now at the core of the European integration, that Latvia is not in the periphery but at the center of our union. And ladies and gentlemen, more Europe does not mean less Latvia. Latvia's influence indeed will increase as part of one of the two biggest international currencies. A currency that now is a currency of 18 countries and 333 million people. Latvia will be able to take full advantage of the single market, the rock on which growth and jobs are built, through free movement of people, goods and services. And it does not end in 2014. In the first half of 2015, we are looking forward to seeing Latvia as the presidency of the Council of the European Union. And rather than benefiting from the solidarity it has previously needed to receive alone, Latvia is today ever more relevant, giving a contribution to the European Union and also influencing decisions. This is illustrated in no better way than by your national symbol, Milda. By being on the euro, she will travel across a euro area of around 333 million people, visible in Europe from Finland to Portugal, from Asia to the Americas, all over the world. So Milda will be all over the world. And you have noted that I've mentioned Finland and Portugal, not because the Vice President for the Euro and the Economic and Financial Affairs, Olli Rehn, comes from Finland and myself come from Portugal, but because I want to make an image about North and South. I also know that you are going to use Riga as European Capital of Culture as a further opportunity to make Latvia better known in Europe and in the world, and to also show what Latvia has to offer, not only economically, but culturally, to the European and global partners. Ladies and gentlemen, Latvian accession gives our common currency a vote of confidence within Europe and globally. It sends the message that the euro is attractive and open to all member states that fulfill the required conditions. It helps to prove the doubters wrong. And of course, we hope that fulfilling the conditions, Lithuania will be the next member of the euro. So this is still work in progress. And when we think that some time ago, not so long ago, many experts, commentators were predicting the implosion of the euro, countries leaving the euro, we see today that more countries are joining the euro. Can it be a better proof of the resilience and the strength of our currency and of our economy and of our European project? Because indeed this was never a crisis of the euro as such. It was an economic, financial and debt crisis affecting many countries, including ones inside the euro area, others outside the euro area. But we start 2014 in a far better place than any time since the beginning of the crisis. Why? Because the euro has proved to be an anchor of stability in the financial and economic storm. And with the financial debt crisis revealing some weaknesses in the framework coordinating economic policies in the economic and monetary union, the euro has now matured and has come of age. Our member states, working together with European institutions, have understood that to sustain a common currency, they should give more steps forward in terms of economic governance integration. That is why today we are in a much better position than some years ago. We have shown that the euro is and will remain a stable, strong, credible currency. That is what we have done by taking forward work to have greater convergence in budgetary and economic policy, to continue structural reforms, as there are no reasons to be complacent, so as to start seeing the real benefits in the form of a sustainable growth and jobs. Latvia, and indeed this wonderful building in which we find ourselves today, are very well placed to understand and promote growth and competitiveness. Ever since it joined the Hanseatic League in 1282, trade and important geopolitical location of Riga have been the lifeblood of this city, known as the Pearl of the Baltic, so elegantly depicted in this great hall of the Small Guild, alongside other Hanseatic cities, and as the bridge between East and West. So let me conclude by saying, congratulations to your hard work, determination, and dedication to Europe and to join the euro. Welcome into the euro area. I look forward to working with you within the euro area in 2014 to get growth and jobs for our citizens. A sentiment that is so well set out and inscribed in this great hall when we see inscribed here, Wo Arbeit das Haus bewacht, kann Armut nicht inheim. Where work guards the house, poverty is closed out. This is what we need in Europe: more work, more determination for greater prosperity for our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barroso. We have some more guests in the audience who have been directly involved in the process of Latvia's accession to the Eurozone. Vice President of the European Commission, Commissioner for Monetary Affairs, Mr. Olli Rehn, good evening. Mr. Rehn, you have always been an advocate of the Baltic states, including Latvia, and have stressed this in all your public speeches. 12 points goes to Latvia, were your first words after European Commission decision to welcome Latvia to the Eurozone. I would like to ask you, were you confident of Latvia joining the Eurozone from the very beginning of the process? Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies. I must say that this is a great moment for all of us, including myself, having worked very hard for Latvia's euro adoption together with our Latvian friends and European partners. I must say that as I'm not a believer in historical determinism, I rather believe in the will of the people and their capacity to cooperate and get results with that. I always had doubts, as I always have doubts concerning the future of every country. But I have to say that I was very positively surprised by the very strong determination of the Latvian leaders and citizens in terms of going through this difficult and sometimes painful economic adjustment, which is now indeed paying off in terms of Latvia having joined the euro and having returned to the path of economic growth and better employment. This has been a major achievement, and I recall some difficult moments, such as in the end of 2008, early 2009, when some of our friends were advising Latvia to devalue its currency. Our advice was that it is better to stick to the peg and target the euro, and in my view, Latvia took the right decision at that moment, and Latvia indeed deserves all the credit for that, which is now seen in terms of its adoption of the euro. From now on, of course, it is important that Latvia maintains sound economic and fiscal policies. I trust Latvia will do this. It's important that there is continuity in economic and fiscal policy to ensure that Latvia will also continue to be a success story as a member of the euro. That's very much in your hands, and I trust you will succeed in this endeavor for the sake of Latvia, for the sake of Latvia's European future. And I want to wish you best of success in this very important endeavor. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rehn. And also with us today is Latvian Minister of Finance, Mr. Andris Vilks. And here I would like to continue in Latvian. Labvakar, Vilka kungs, un man jums jautājums. Latvija Eirozonai pievienojās sarežģītā laikā, kad nedz ārējais, nedz iekšējais fonds nebija īsten labvēlīgs. Atskatoties atpakaļ, kas jums personiski tomēr lika turpināt šo ceļu, un tomēr kas jums šķita vissarežģītākais un grūtākais pašam? Lūdzu.
Augsti godāmie viesi, ekscelences, dāmas un kungi. Jautājums nebija par to, vai Latvijai vajadzīgs eiro vai ne. Jautājums bija par laiku, un kad Latvija tam būs gatava. Un iespējams, ka Latvijai ir bijis visgrūtākais tieši ceļš uz eiro, un diezgan vai kādreiz nākamajām potenciālām eirozonas valstīm būs tik sarežģīts ceļš. Jo Latvija bija kā nesen atguvusies no krīzes, ekonomika sāk augt, bet tāpat laikā mēs redzējām, kādus signālus sūta eirozona gadu, pusotru atpakaļ. Aizvien vairāk parādījās programmu valstis, un tas bija ļoti grūts uzdevums tiešām. Vispirms pārliecināt citas eirozonas valstis, Eiropas centrālo banku, Eiropas komisiju, ka Latvija šoreiz tiešām ir gatava, un pārliecināt sabiedrību, ka šis ir īstais brīdis, ka Latvijai vajag iet uz eirozonu. Uzdevums bija grūts, un tiešām atrast šo līdzsvaru bija grūti, bet tas mums visiem ir izdevies. Mēs ļoti lielu darbu ieguldījām pētot, iepazīstoties ar citu eirozonas valstu pieredzi, ieviešot eiro. Mēs ļoti daudz un uzmanīgi runājām ar ikvienu eirozonas valstīm, izstāstot, izskaidrojot Latvijas iziešanu no krīzes, par mūsu izmaiņām struktūrālām, arī par pārmaiņām mūsu domāšanā, kā mēs uztveram tālāko attīstības ciklu Latvijai. Mēs ar katru nākamo ceturksni pārliecinājām, ka Latvijai ir pēcticība novērojama un stabilitāte. Un mēs runājam arī visām institūcijām. Tāpat mēs daudz laika arī veltījām skaidrot sabiedrībai, ka eiro ir ļoti svarīgs strateģisks mērķis, kurš kļuva vēl svarīgāks pēc tam, kad Igaunija pievienojas eirozonai. Ir skaidrs, ka Baltijas valstīm ir jābūt vienai valūtai. Tas ir mērķis neatkarīgi no tā, varbūt, kad liekas, kad eirozonā vai globālajā pasaules ekonomikā varbūt nav sliktākais aiz muguras, ka varētu būt dažādi sarežģījumi, bet šis mērķis bija pietiekami svarīgs, jo tas ir ļoti spēcīgs instruments, viņu pareizi lieto, un tas noteikti palielinās Latvijas ekonomikas lielumu, konkurētspēju, un tas ir ikvienam iedzīvotājiem, ikvienam uzņēmējam. Noteikti tikai nāks par labu. Latvijas gadījumā mums bija tā privilēģija, kad Igaunija bija ieviesusi dažus gadus iepriekš eiro, mēs esam ļoti pateicīgi Igaunijai. Tas kalpoja kā ļoti labs piemērs. Mēs tiešām ieguvām ļoti labu pieredzi no uzņēmējiem, no uzņēmumiem, no valsts institūcijām. Un tas bija ļoti svarīgs. Tāpat es domāju, ka Latvija varēs tālāk savu pieredzi nodot Lietuvai. Tas ir mūsu uzdevums. Un Lietuvai būs vēl papildus vieglāk, jo būs Igaunijas un Latvijas piemērs. Tā ir Baltijas sadarbība un novēlēt arī visām pārējām turpmākajām eirozonas valstīm šo pieredzi, pašu jaunāko pieredzi izmantot. Un Latvija jau parādīja lieliski, ko nozīmē sadarbība. Mums bija tiešām dziļa krīze. Kopējiem spēkiem no tās esam izgājuši stiprāki, pārliecinātāki. Un tieši arī to pašu varēja redzēt, ieviešot eiro, sadarbība starp valsts institūcijām, starp sabiedrisko sektoru. Un vēlreiz gribu pateikties pakalpojumu sniedzējiem, banku darbiniekiem, valsts sektora pārstāvjiem pēdējo nedēļu laikā un pēdējo mēnešu laikā, arī var teikt pat gadu un pusotru, par ļoti efektīvo pāreju uz eiro. Un tas norāda, ka mums ir pa spēkam kopīgi sadarboties nākamajā mērķi iespējami, un ļoti labi, ka tad mēs varam diskutēt, kā panākt Latvijai pēc iespējas labāko, stabilāko un izdevīgāko veidu, kā ekonomikai augt. To mēs tagad laužam šķēpus, bet, manuprāt, šīs diskusijas ir krietni labākas nekā visas iepriekšējās, kas bijušas. Tā kā par sadarbību un par labu izmantotiem piemēriem no citām valstīm, no citām institūcijām.
Paldies, Ilka kungs. Thank you very much, Mr. Vilks. Also with us today is member of the European Parliament, Mr. Burkhard Balz, who prepared the report on Latvia joining the Eurozone, voted on by the European Parliament. Mr. Balz, good evening. When writing this report, were your thoughts and concerns more preoccupied with the Eurozone or with Latvia? Were you thinking that Latvia needs Eurozone or that Eurozone needs a success story like Latvia? Please.
Prime Minister Dombrovskis, Presidents, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to congratulate Latvia for joining the Eurozone. For me personally, it's also a very emotional moment too, and I would like to thank you for the kind invitation for today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, during the whole process, my thoughts were largely focusing on Latvia. Of course, you also have to see the big picture and consider the Eurozone as a whole, which convergence reports from the Commission and the ECB reflect very well. The figures on which the convergence reports were largely based spoke for themselves and suggested that Latvia was easily fulfilling the convergence criteria, of course a precondition for joining the euro. For me, it was essential to also hear Latvia's thoughts and concerns beyond the economic figures. And a visit to Riga last May was, in that respect, very valuable, and it certainly influenced my report for the European Parliament. I was very impressed by the commitment, Prime Minister, and the endeavor of your government to make Latvia ready for the euro. And I did not only met with you and Finance Minister Wilks, Central Bank Governor, and other senior government officials. I met also many representatives from the civil society. And these discussions, I can assure you, were very fruitful and constructive and gave me an excellent insight into the sentiments of the Latvian citizens with regard to the euro introduction. I think it helped me to draft a balanced report which considered both the Eurozone as a whole and, of course, Latvia in particular. And to your second question, I think that both Latvia and the Eurozone benefit from Latvia joining the common currency. It took tremendous efforts by the Latvian government and the Latvian people to overcome the economic crisis and to put the Latvian economy back on a stable growth path. And I'm confident that the euro will stabilize the Latvian economic further. Latvia will be now fully integrated into the Eurozone and benefit from being able to conduct the business in euro. And I welcomed it very much that Latvia decided to join the euro. Also, Europe is still suffering from the crisis because it sends a strong signal. Europe is recovering and the introduction of the euro is still attractive for member states. And I also see my friend Satsios from Lithuania, who will hopefully next year in the same situation like the Latvian government is today. Latvia, let me conclude, is from my personal perspective now, the example of how to successfully overcome crisis through stringent austerity measures. And I'm sure that your country will be a credible partner in the Eurozone who encourages stable economic and financial policies for the European Union as a whole and the Eurozone in particular. My last remark is on that what President Barroso said. The Milda and the European new euro coins from Latvia will not only travel to Portugal or to Finland, they will definitely also travel to Germany. Before I came here to Riga, I talked to my son, who is 12 years old, and I told him that Latvia will get a new currency with new coins. And he said, well, after you will return, it's weekend, and at weekends he normally gets his pocket money. And I had to assure him that, well, at this weekend, he will get new euro coins with Milda from Latvia. I will fulfill my assurement, and I'm very happy that Milda, of course, will go tomorrow with me back to Germany. Thank you very much.
Mr. Balz, thank you very much. And now I would like to turn my attention to the audience, because we also have a few questions from our guests. And I would like to give a floor to Mrs. Maira Dzelskaleja, one of the most popular and well-known leaders of the Latvian farmer organizations. Maira, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, Prime Minister, honorable guests, excellencies. I would like to put a question addressed to both, to President Barroso and Prime Minister Dombrovskis. I would suggest you to imagine a situation where you both wake up in changed positions. Mr. Barroso, you wake up as Prime Minister of Latvia. Mr. Dombrovskis, you would wake up as President of European Commission. What would you do in your new position, bearing in mind that you need to ensure prosperity of Latvians and equality between all European member states and sustainable economical growth in all Europe, so that would result Latvians having as many euros in their pockets as other European citizens, particularly in older member countries? Where would you start?
You start?
Well, thank you very much for this question. Definitely a very interesting one. So I think we should be starting in Europe more or less where we were starting in Latvia. And also in my speech, I mentioned the issue of competitiveness. There is no easy solutions or no shortcuts to the prosperity. We need to deal with our competitiveness factors. We need to address those competitiveness factors to grow as a country and also to grow as a EU itself. And from that point of view, we see that there are quite a few issues we are also facing as a European Union. Some 10 years ago, or by now it's 14 years ago, we set a target in a Lisbon strategy that by 2010, Europe should become most competitive knowledge-based economy in the world. Then in 2005, we quickly, silently dropped this goal in a midterm review of Lisbon strategy. And now we see that we are not getting closer to this target if we look at other major economies like US. So really there are serious issues we should be thinking about as a Europe. So what are our competitiveness factors? What are the factors we need to deal with? What do we do with our innovation? What we do with our administrative regulations, with labor market regulations, and how we develop further our EU internal market in order to boost competitiveness and in order to stay among leading economies in the world.
Thank you very much for your very interesting, almost provocative question. What I can tell you is the following, and in political analysis, usually my judgments are not bad. I think it is more probable, when you speak about changing roles between Prime Minister Dombrovskis and myself, it is more probable that Prime Minister Dombrovskis goes to the Commission than I go to the government of Latvia. This is my first point. And I think neither him nor I would have difficulty in making the change. Why? And this point, I think, is a serious one, because the European project is not just for the European institutions. And what we are saying in European institutions and what we are saying in the national governments should be the same. Work for a Europe that is able to keep its social market economy, to have to reform, to be competitive. I was, since you have asked me personally, I was in the national government 12 years, the last years as Deputy Foreign Minister, and Prime Minister. And I was already a very strong, committed pro-European, defending the community approach, defending, for instance, the role of the European Commission. That is a very important institution precisely to guarantee that all countries, big or small, rich or poor, old or new member states, that are treated exactly with the same dignity. So I did not have to change my position when I came from Lisbon to Brussels. And if Prime Minister Dombrovskis goes from Riga to Brussels, I also think he has not to do a great change in his line, because he has done here also in Latvia something that is a very great contribution to our European project. So what it is important is to be coherent and to know that we cannot have one language in Brussels and one language in our national capitals, that we should not oppose the national interest and European interest, because in fact we reinforce our national capacity, be it the Latvian or the Portuguese or the Finnish or the German, including your son, that will have the Milda coins. We reinforce the power or the influence of our countries if you work also towards the European project. So I think it is easy for me and for Prime Minister Dombrovskis to change position, but I believe it's more probable that he goes to Brussels than I come to Riga.
Thank you. Now I would like to give a microphone to Mr. Vitalijs Gavrilovs, the President of Employers Confederation of Latvia.
Distinguished guests, excellencies, dear colleagues, first of all, I would like to say for our guests, very welcome to Latvia. Really, today our European and Latvian family celebrates this event. And second, I think today for us, each of us today can find in this room some people who are representing three pillars of European policy making. What business expected from you, from European and from national politicians? I think we expected, first of all, strong leadership. We need it. Effective communication. And of course, social dialogue. Business is a backbone of European economy. The single market is its cornerstone, and the single currency is the heart. One of historical changes Latvia is facing now is currency change. We celebrate also today in this event. The important event shows for Latvian people and all European that together we have unique opportunity to create the Europe of our dreams and capability. We are building Europe together based on solidarity and to enhance integration. The major part of member of Employer Confederation of Latvia and National Tripartite Cooperation Council, Mr. Valdis Dombrovskis is co-chairman. It's a unique situation in Europe. Strongly supported decision of Latvian government and parliament to join Eurozone on 1st January 2014. It has happened. The decision taken confirms the strong voice of social partner in Latvia. It is a major part of Latvian organized civil society. As an active member of European Business Confederation, Business Europe, and European Economical Social Committee, next week we'll meet you, I hope. We also social partner for European Commission, for Parliament, and for Council. And I think with Council, soon we will be signing a cooperation agreement between European Economical Social Committee and the Council. And as you recommend to Mr. Dombrovskis to become President of Commission, it will be very good. We can continue what you do it here in Latvia. The European Union, which was created to avoid conflict, has changed the face of the continent and become an inspiring project for several European generations. The European economic integration has had a positive impact of growth and employment, and therefore on European citizen prosperity, what you expected also. Changes and challenges which unfoot us today must become as sources for our success. In front of us, new challenges, deep and genuine economic and monetary union. My question. What you will do, all politicians, to increase the role of social partner, to restore pro-European sentiment and trust to European institutions, to help you, to maybe to keep your position still to future, to ensure European industrial competitiveness, new and decent job creation. Thank you very much.
Herman, maybe you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, although it was not clear in the beginning that there will come a question. Thank you also for the former speaker who let me leave in my job, because I was the only one who hadn't to change. But seriously speaking, first part of your question was what can we do for maintaining social dialogue and so on. And I come from a country with a huge tradition of social dialogue. And it can be a factor of strength. But the first thing you said was that you asked for political leadership. If we can have the consent of the social partners, all the better. And we have to work hard to get them on board. But there can come a moment that there is no consensus. And then the leaders have to take their responsibilities. Because ultimately, they are responsible for the common good. And that's the task of politicians. The ultimate goal of all what we are doing is the common good, national and European, and as the President of the Commission just said, they are coinciding. That's my first part. The second part is what can we do to defend the European idea? And we have an excellent, a unique occasion to speak about this. Because I would say, not in the midst of the crisis of the Eurozone, but all our problems are not over. And we know that there are some doubts again, there are some doubts about the Euro and the Eurozone. They are not completely over, although compared to a year ago, the situation changed dramatically. But in this very moment, Estonia and now also Latvia have made the choice for joining the Eurozone. This was just unthinkable a few years ago. I often said, and I know it is a very bad joke, but I will tell it, that the Eurozone, by the fact that Latvia and Estonia are joining the Eurozone proves that it is still attractive. It is still sexy, and here comes the bad joke. We know that the President of the Commission and the Council are very sexy. But now we know that also the Eurozone is. But what we need is two things to get that Euro enthusiasm again in other countries than your country. First of all, we have to show results. We have to show that our approach is working, that the work we did at the level of the Eurozone and the level of the member states produces economic growth and results. Politicians can't do this alone, but we can create the framework in which you can work, private sector and the business sector. Ultimately, people will not be convinced by what we are saying, but what we are doing and what the results of our deeds are. And that's why it is such an important moment, that we see all over the Eurozone the first signs of economic growth, and even in most of them, the beginning of growth of employment and decline of unemployment, even at very high levels. And the second is, and here I'm speaking to convinced people, that of course deeds and results are important. But the leaders and all those who are taking responsibilities in business world, the trade unions, in civil society, in the media, they have to come up for their European convictions. How can you ask people, common people, to believe in Europe if the leaders are expressing only doubts, if the leaders are trying to put all the blame on Brussels and the so-called European institutions? If there is no strong conviction shown by the leaders, then the rest of the population will not follow. So rhetoric, language, showing that we are convinced people, that we are sharing the European ideas and ideals, this is of utmost importance. And especially as my last word, here in this part of the world, in the Baltic states, with your past, Europe is something that is a sign of hope. And you felt non-Europe only recently in your history. In our countries, in Western Europe, the war is far away. And if I say to my son, he's not 12 years old anymore, but I say to my grandsons and to my children that Europe started with peace and democracy. It is that we are the third generation of peace. Here you are the first generation who experienced the opposite of the European values. So it is of utmost importance that here, from the Baltic states and for your country, that you show that European conviction, that all the European ideals are much more closer in history than most people think in other parts of Europe. Summarizing, because I have also an answer, as you had finally a question, results and showing convictions that will ultimately bring people again to share our common ideas and ideals.
Now I would like to thank you very much for this, and we continue with, we have two more speakers. So I would like to give a floor to the President of Bank of Latvia, Ilmārs Timšēvičs, please.
Dāmas un kungi, cienījamies prezidenta kungs, premjerministrs kungs, es domāju, tā ir tiešām šodien unikāla diena, ko mēs šodien piedzīvojam visi kopā. Es teiktu, šajā dienā mēs varam daudz ko atcerēties un runāt, un mēs zinām, mums ir skaists koncerts vēl priekšā, bet atceroties Vestardes Šimkus fantastiskā fantastisko klavieru koncertu. Es gribu teikt, ka es vēlētos spēlēt kādu dienu kā viņš. Nē, ne jau es. Es vēlētos, lai Latvija kādu dienu spēlētu tikpat virtuozi Eirozonā. Lai Latvija nebūtu vairs jauna, bikla, trausla, bailīga. Mēs esam izgājuši cauri smagai krīzei. Mēs, diemžēl, esam mācījušies no savām kļūdām. Mēs esam daudz dzirdējuši, stājoties Eirozonā, ka cilvēki baidās, vai kaut kur citur šī krīze vēl nevar uzliesmot, vai kaut kur citur vēl nevar būt kāda programma, un Latvijai nenāksies maksāt. Es domāju, ka Latvijas piemērs ir tik skaidri šobrīd redzams, analizēts, un te sako mans jautājums cienījamiem kungiem, kā jūs, kas ikdienā strādā ar daudzām valstīm kopā, varētu mums palīdzēt šo Latvijas piemēru, par kuru tiešām 5 gadus atpakaļ neviens nezināja, bet šodien par to lauž galvas Nobeļa prēmijas laureāti. Kā aiznest šo ziņu, šo mesidžu līdz viņiem, un lai mēs tik tiešām redzētu, ka Eiropā nekad vairs nebūs tāda krīze, kā tas bija 9. un 10. gadā. Paldies!
I can try. First of all, I really believe the case of communication success of Latvia is important, first of all for you, but also for Europe. In fact, just give me an example. Just yesterday, together with President of the European Council, we were in Athens for the inauguration of the Council presidency by Greece. And I've quoted the case of Latvia. I said to everybody there, look at Latvia. Latvia made one of the most difficult adjustment programs, and now it's the country, or one of the countries with the highest growth rate in Europe. It shows adjustment programs work if they are properly implemented with ownership by the authorities. And indeed, we have other reasons to celebrate. Ireland was the first country to exit the adjustment program just now in December. Spain, that also received a program for the banking sector, as you know, also is exiting that program very successfully. Portugal, if there are no accidents, will successfully exit the program in May. It's just some time before the European elections, and just yesterday made a very successful issuance of bonds in the market, of treasury bonds. And Greece, where sometimes there are some misperceptions, is indeed making a huge effort in terms of adjustment. And we, according to the European forecasts, I'm looking to my, of course, friend and the Vice President of the Commission, Olli Rehn, according to our forecasts, it may be coming back to some positive growth this year. And Cyprus just started now the program, but there are also encouraging signs. So it shows that contrary to those who are saying that these programs do not work, they work. And in fact, Latvia is a very good example, because even if Latvia was not yet in the euro, Latvia implemented an adjustment program that was very comparable to the ones implemented by Greece or by Ireland or Portugal. And as Olli Rehn just reminded us today, others were suggesting Latvia to follow a different path, apparently easier. It will be the path of devaluation. As you know, in the debate, there are people who believe, oh, we should make a devaluation. The problem is that the euro cannot allow countries to make a devaluation. It's a mistake, because a devaluation is, in fact, a devaluation of the product of the country. What is important is to focus not only in reducing the expenditure, but focus on the structural reforms for the country to recover competitiveness. This is the key. So this is why, to you, Mr. Governor, I'd like to say that we should make the Latvian success story better known, not only in Europe, but in the world. This year, if I don't want to sound too optimistic, but since there was so short supply of optimism and so big supply of pessimism recently, let me try. I hope this year will be the year where we are going to see many people say, we were wrong. All those experts, commentators, all those professional Cassandras saying that the euro is going to implode. I've met many of them during the more acute moments of crisis, from New York to London, and in the European continent as well, predicting the Greek exit, predicting the implosion of the euro. And I already now, including some Nobel Prize winners of economy, are saying, oh, probably we're not completely right. The resilience of the euro is bigger than what we thought, because they have not rightly estimated, indeed they have underestimated some political factors in the European Union. When Chancellor Merkel says, for us, the future of Germany is linked to the future of the euro, and the future of the euro is the future of the European Union, I think this means something. But some people traditionally analyzing the markets, they don't have that idea. They don't understand how can a currency exist without a country. Because the euro is a new thing. We have a common currency for now 18 countries. And so that was a misperception. But at the same time, we in the European Union also learn a lot. As the President of the European Council mentioned in his address, we have been repairing some of the shortcomings in the European Economic and Monetary Union architecture, from the European Stability Mechanism to the so-called bailout programs, to increasing now the governance, the economic governance, to deepening the EMU on the basis of the so-called Four Presidents report and also the European Commission blueprint. So I think it is no exaggeration to say that we are much stronger now in terms of the capacity of the euro area to go through the crisis than before. And that, the case of Latvia is a good example of that. It can be used as a text case. So let's do our best in communication. Let's ask the Prime Minister, the Governor of the Central Bank, the Finance Minister, to try to write a little bit of your experience in international media. We are doing our best. I'm quoting very often the case of Latvia, because it's important also for your country to be recognized as such, but also for those who still have doubts. And we need also in the equation for growth in Europe, there is a variable that is still missing. It is confidence. And we need to reinforce that variable of confidence. Because when we see the leaders, or sometimes supposedly leading, because leading, when you are just projecting despair, you are not leaders. We listen to leaders not to underline what can be a success. In that case, people don't believe. And we need to also reinforce the reasons of hope and confidence in a reasonable and rational way, not with myths, not with propaganda. But I think the case of Latvia shows there are good reasons for hope. If there is, of course, hard work. Hope alone is not sufficient.
Just adding to what the President of the Commission said, and I will be very brief, but if a politician say he will be very, very brief, prepare you for a long speech, but that will not be the case. I just mentioned two elements. First of all, and the governor is fully aware of this, we have to complete the economic and monetary union. And the first part of it is the banking union. And I count on the Greek presidency to find an agreement with the European Parliament on this pillar of the banking union, and this pillar of the banking union is the resolution. We have now, and then we have a banking union. We have already, to a large extent, a fiscal union. We need more in the economic union. We need more economic coordination. We need a new instrument, and we discussed it a few weeks ago in the European Council, a new instrument to urge countries on a contractual basis to embark on structural reforms. And all the countries need reforms. Also the strongest economies, also the German economy. We are faced with globalization, and we are faced with a demographic problem in most of the countries, in some even a demographic implosion. So we have all to adapt to a new situation, and therefore we have to put countries on the right footing, and the EU institutions have their role to play in this: more economic coordination, more economic union, more contractual arrangements, so that we can have those needed structural reforms. That's the first part. The second part is, to have a stable Eurozone and a prosperous Eurozone, we have to deepen the single market. We did already a lot, but we have a fragmented energy market, a fragmented telecom market, a fragmented digital market, a fragmented financial market. And we haven't used all the possibilities that this great market can create for small and big countries, mostly for small countries, because I come from a small country. The bigger the single market, the better for small economies, because the outside world is bigger when your own country is smaller. So when we have to deepen and to take all the possibilities of the single market. If we have an economic and monetary union, full-fledged, we are close, and we hope that we can leave office with to a large extent, a complete economic and monetary union, but we have to work harder on competitiveness, we have to work harder on having a single market in the key sectors, that will mean a lot in the global competition. And that's the program for the coming year and the program for the coming years. And then I'm not desperate at all that we can finally, with some delay, that we can finally have reached the target of the objective of the Lisbon Agenda started in 2000. It is not impossible. It is not impossible. But if things are going better, and the peer pressure. That's the big challenge for us and for our successors.